So here's creating an agency. When you create an agency, you have to give it a name because now you're a collection of people instead of one individual. So you give it a name like, our example, Richmond Concept, but you can come up with whatever brand name you think suits your agency best. You will also need to upgrade to an Agency Plus plan. So that plan costs $20 a month, and you do get some benefits that come with it. And you can see those at the bottom of the slide here. You can have unlimited team members. You get some competitive insight into bids on jobs. You will be able to purchase shared agency connects. So those cost 15 cents each in US dollars. Just like the individual freelancer connects, you're just using them for your shared agency. You can roll those over. You can roll over 160 connects if you have them already, and they expire 1 year after you purchase them. So and the connects are how you're actually applying for projects. And then another thing you can do is you can keep your earnings confidential. So this is kind of a good thing because if you're a new agency, you can hide your earnings to show that you haven't really earned much yet, but you have a really good skill set, so the client doesn't need to know that. Or you can, if you fluctuate pricing on projects, that kind of thing, you can keep your earnings confidential. So that's kind of a helpful feature. All right, so agency business models. We kind of already touched on this already. 2 ways to structure it. You can have a team of freelancers on Upwork, meaning that they are distributed all over the place and you're communicating through cloud tools, or you can have a team of on-site agency workers. So this is more of a traditional model where you have an office and you all work together. Maybe you're in a co-working space, something like that. And you use Upwork as the way to generate leads for your on-site agency. So your team can be a salaried team of employees. You can actually hire your employees, or you can have subcontractors. So you can pay them by project or by hour on a contract basis. All right, so let's get into a little bit more about agency roles. So in addition to having a team with your agency account, you actually can put some organization towards your team, which makes it much easier to manage applying and working on projects. So at the top here, you have your owner. That's generally the person that started the agency, and they are ultimately responsible for the agency and its work. They're the main administrator to manage the account, purchase connects, handle all of the finances, create and manage teams. You're the boss. You are the CEO, top of the food chain. Next, I want to talk about the business manager over to the left here. They can manage proposals, rates, offers, contracts. They can submit milestones. So this is kind of your administrative person. They can help you manage team members by looking at time-based reports. But one thing a business manager can't see is the earnings for each individual freelancer, right? So they can communicating with clients, that sort of thing. And then next, I want to talk about team members. So this is the bulk of your agency. These are the people doing the work. They work on behalf of the agency. They can submit proposals to projects if they see one that's a good fit for the agency, though they can't accept offers. So they can start the conversation, and then the owner has to get in, or the business manager has to get in to accept that offer. An important point I want to talk about here is the difference between an exclusive team member and a non-exclusive team member. So an exclusive team member works only for your agency. So often this is somebody that you recruited to come work for your agency that you have set up on Upwork, and they only work for you. They don't have an individual freelancer profile where they apply for other projects. They only work under your agency name. A non-exclusive freelancer may be somebody that you found through Upwork. So maybe they already work as an individual freelancer, they have some clients and projects, but they're looking for more work and they would like to work with your agency as well. So that would be a non-exclusive team member. So there's some different features for these two, so we'll pause at that for there, but just know that we have these two different types, an exclusive and a non-exclusive. Okay, so back into the details of creating an agency. You've created an agency account from your own freelancer account. So if you're starting brand new on Upwork, you can't just create an agency. You have to have your own individual profile, and everyone in your agency has an individual profile as well. Because what you're doing is you're displaying everybody's individual skill sets and how those contribute to your bigger agency to make your agency what it is and how diverse and effective it is. So you're going to start from your own freelancer account. You're going to go through those 1, 2, 3 steps we just looked at. You're going to create your agency, give it a name. And then when you're setting up your team, you can see here that you've got some different permissions and roles you can set. There's lots of organizational pieces on the back end. Also, I always like to take this pause here to say, do not worry if this is getting really confusing. It is a lot of information, mostly because agencies give you so many great features and functions. But all of this information is available on the help and support section of Upwork. So at any time, you can go on your Upwork page. There's that little question mark in the upper right-hand corner. If you click on that and go to help and support, there is an entire section on agencies where you can look up these details at any time, search for answers, all of that good stuff. Also, this webinar is being recorded, and you will get a copy of it after the webinar is over, so you can go back and re-listen to key points that you may have missed. So hang with me and don't worry about it too much, because there's still great information out there if you miss it in this webinar today. Okay, so we talked about teams. Here's a little bit more about agency management. On the agency roster, the agency owner or business manager can set team members' rates. They're blacked out here on this slide, but that's where they would be. You can set members' profile visibility. So this is kind of an interesting point, because you don't have to show every single freelancer in your agency on your agency profile. So if you have maybe duplicate skill sets where you only pull in certain people for certain projects, or for any reason, you don't have to show every single member of your agency. You can select which ones you want to show and represent your agency on your agency profile. And you also can prevent exclusive members from seeing their own rates. So again, this is that difference between exclusive and non-exclusive. If a freelancer works solely for your agency, you can set it so they can't see what rate you have visible for them to clients, right? You could be charging slightly more to the client than you're paying them to help cover your operational costs. So but that's only for exclusive members. So that's the note there. Further organization, if you have a big team, you can create teams within your agency. And really, this is more of a back-end administrative setting. It can just help you organize who all you're working with. For example, you can have all of your developers as one team, or all of your editors, or something like that. And it just helps with administrative efficiency. It's just another setting that you have available to you as an agency owner. All right, getting into a little bit more fun stuff here. Let's talk actually about the profiles themselves and some of the features you have there and what's important to really focus on doing well. So you've created all your behind the scenes setup. Now we're looking at what the client is going to see. So you want to create a memorable first impression with a strong agency profile. And like I said, this is recently updated. There's a lot of new stuff you can do in here that you couldn't before with agency profiles. So one of those is that banner up across the top. You want to try and keep that simple with brand colors and visuals and as little text as possible. This is meant to be an image at the top. Think Facebook cover photo, right? Recommended size is 3,200 pixels by 320 pixels. Again, this is information you can find in the help section, but that's just a good note. You can use that banner to stand out from other agencies, showcase your brand, and kind of tell your story, convey your attitude. You know, what are kind of giving an idea of what you're like to work with, what kind of work you like to do. Visuals can go a long way towards kind of setting the stage for what kind of clients you're looking for and attracting the work that you really want. Next, let's talk about your tagline. So you have your cover photo, you have your photo of your main agency owner, And now we have this tagline about what you actually do. So it's a one-line summary or mission statement, and you really want to focus on what makes your agency unique. So you could make a tagline that says you do 3D animation and video, production studio in the global healthcare space. It talks about what you do. It's very specific, and it talks about the area in which you want to work, global healthcare space. Less effective would be to just list a bunch of skills. Web development, PHP, Ajax, .NET, Ruby, SQL. Okay, that's kind of boring, and you could do a little bit better with that space. So get specific about what you do, your skills, and then also if you have a market focus or a market you like working with, that can be really helpful to include there. So next, you have your overview section, and this is really where you get a chance to tell your story and describe your expertise. So you really want to talk about your company's value and how you work with clients. There's a lot of ways that you can list what your skills are and what your industry is, but this is really the only space where you get the chance to talk about what it's like to work with you. Again, going back to talking about the agency, people are hiring you because they want you to help coordinate the project. They want to know that you have the right skills, but they also want to know, that you're going to get it done on time, on budget, all of those pieces. So it's good to talk about a little bit about how you work, if you have a specific process or way that you like to communicate. This is kind of the place to talk about that. And you might want to talk about the size of the team, the types of projects you tackle. You can add a video, which is also another great way to communicate kind of who you are. Generally, less than 1 minute is good for an introduction video. And it doesn't have to be super fancy or flashy either. It can just be you talking, about your team and introducing your agency. All right, so now here's the services section. So this is why we use the overview to talk about what it's like to work with you, because we have this entire section that is dedicated to the services that you provide. So this can talk mostly about your specialties. And the more specific you are about where your strengths are and the strengths of services that you provide, the better off you're going to be in winning really solid projects. So help clients quickly understand the range of services your agency offers. You have some categories you can choose from in a dropdown. You can describe your company's approach or experience, and you can also choose a project from your portfolio to link to these different skills that really shows that you know what you're doing. And you can add up to 10 primary services for your agency. So that's, again, where you might have to prioritize what are your biggest strengths and what is the work you really want to do when you're picking out those skills. All right, so you want to impress prospective clients, and one of the ways you can do that is talking about the other clients you have worked with before. So this is where you can list up to 12 of your previous clients. Note, always a good idea to get permission from your clients to reference their name or even feature their work. So that's always a good best practice. If you don't have the permission to use a specific company name, you could always just use a simple description. So a global e-commerce company, a large retailer, something like that. You can also list up to 10 awards, so industry recognition, certifications, achievements, that sort of thing. So how else do clients look at agencies? What other information are we giving them to help them pick the right agency for their project? So here you can see some of this kind of nitty-gritty information that gets presented. Your hourly rate, you can set a minimum project size. So this helps clients understand the types of projects you're really looking for. You can see over on the far right-hand side, there's a client focus. So you can pick if you would like to work only with small businesses, only with large businesses. You can also see at the bottom office locations. So this is, again, where we're talking about whether you have a globally distributed team or if you have a physical office location and you want to let people know that you're available for in-person meetings in a particular city, you can note that there. Or if you have a globally distributed team, you could just note where you're based. So, maybe a client would still want to meet just with the agency owner, even if the whole team isn't based there. So you can just kind of say where your headquarters are. And then other things, languages, the size of your agency, some, hours worked, kind of some of the similar stats that show for individual accounts. And next, don't forget about the portfolio. This is one of the best ways to make yourself stand out among other profiles. And the reason is because putting together a portfolio takes a little bit of time and effort. And if you put that time and effort in, it's going to show against the other people that didn't take the time to do that. It's really going to show that you know what you're doing. So you want to show a range of your best and latest projects. A question I hear all the time is, I'm not a graphic designer. How can I show what I do? I work in finance. I'm not going to put a spreadsheet in there. Well, a great way to do that is to include text-based work samples. So put together a small case study. Talk about the problem that your client had when you met them, how you approached it, and then now how they're better for having you involved. So no matter what you're talking about, even if you can't share your actual client's work, you can always tell the story about how you helped, and that's really important. Also here, you can link to past projects and link portfolio items from your services section. Again, if you're going to put something in your portfolio, always a good idea to check with the client whose work it was first, especially if you're mentioning things specifically or including things like screenshots. So just do your due diligence and ask for permission. If you're doing good work, they almost always say yes, happy to share it. All right, so that is your agency profile that we just went through. So that's for the agency itself. Now, what I mentioned earlier is that everyone within the agency has their own individual profile as well. And this is because if you're hiring an agency and you see they have all these skills, you might want to look in there and be like, well, who's offering these skills? What kind of experience do these individual people have? Can I see, especially in the case of something like a web coder or a designer, you might want to see what they've done in the past or get to know the people in the agency a little bit better. And that's where the individual member profiles come in. So you want to make sure, in addition to your agency profile looking good, you want the individual member profiles to look good as well. Especially for those exclusive team members, you want to be communicating with them and making sure that they're putting time into this as well, knowing that that's a part of how you're winning work. So you can see some of the tips here along the side. Want to probably focus in a single area of expertise because that's going to make the agency as a whole look stronger. List some relevant skills. You see the hourly rate there that you can hide so that exclusive members can't see what's there. A professional photo is always a good thing. Make sure it's close on your face. Color photos always do better than black and white, even though black and white is so artsy sometimes. And also you can have an individual portfolio here. You can see down in the lower right-hand corner where it shows what agency they're associated with. So even on the individual profiles, it'll show that they're a part of your agency, but it's still important to put effort into this profile. This is just a quick note. Agency members can select their contacts. So if you are a non-exclusive agency member, you can toggle back and forth between your own personal account, Melody Richmond, and then you can toggle to your agency, or you can see here they also have a client account. So you can have all these different functions within Upwork and toggle back and forth between them from the navigation bar up there. Okay, so let's talk about actually working as an agency. You got your profile set up, looking good, you're winning projects. How does this work? Okay, so first of all, it's very similar to an individual account. You can be invited to a project in which it does not cost you any connects, and you interview and hopefully win the project, or you can use your connects and submit proposals to projects. As I mentioned before, the business owner can submit proposals, but also so can team members. Once you win a project, you start the contract, you start the work, collaborate, communicate, share files, and get paid for really good work done. And so this is kind of the overview of what we're going to cover in these next few slides. So we'll stop there for this one and dive in a little bit deeper. Submitting proposals. Typically, business managers manage the proposal submission for the agency, but any of your team members can submit a proposal. And the big note here is it's not possible to apply with the agency profile. You have to submit an individual profile. So usually what you're going to want to do is find your team member that has the strongest skill set that really matches the project, and you're going to want to apply with their profile. And again, it shows that they're linked to the agency. It will show that it's an agency project, but it has to be an individual that applies for the project. It also could be the agency owner. That's a good way to do it as well. So you submit your proposal, and I lost my notes for a second. Sorry, I'm back on track. So you submit your proposal. Non-exclusive freelancers can submit either as an independent freelancer or as the agency team member. So just make sure you're communicating that to any of your non-exclusive people. And just note that strong, detailed proposals are the best. You want to outline how your team is a good fit for the project and how they will approach the project. All right, so accepting contract offers. So you've gone through the proposal, you wrote a great, detailed, strong proposal, they accept, you're ready to get working, got to get the contract in order. So only business managers and agency owners can accept a contract. Those are the only two roles that can do that. You'll notice on here that there is pricing. So we're going to talk in depth about pricing here in a second, but what you should note here is that there's one price, and this price includes everything. So as an agency owner, you're responsible for paying your team members and your business manager. So this price that's a part of the contract is the overall price, inclusive of everything, of what the client will pay. You can still set milestones for fixed price projects, that sort of thing. But you should just note that this is for the entire project, including all the team members who are working on it. This is just a good little screenshot that shows you, just like an individual account, you still have message settings. There's different ways to collaborate. You can see, what notifications you get, all that kind of thing. This is just available in the back end side. Good features for you. And as promised, let's talk about getting paid as an agency. So all payments for an agency project go directly to the agency account. The agency owner is responsible for paying the members outside of Upwork. So you're the agency owner, you get one big lump sum of money, and then you have to distribute that to the people that worked on that project. And you can do that however works for you. If you want to Venmo it, if you want to write paper checks, however that works. And again, you're also responsible for any taxes or anything that would be a part of issuing that payment to your agency members. As an agency owner, you're the boss. This is part of being the boss. You got to pay your team. Setting up an agency withdrawal method. This is how you get that lump sum of money for that project you just completed. This is exactly similar to how you do it as an individual freelancer. You link a bank account, you set a cadence for how you want to get paid, it transfers the money over. There's really nothing special about this here except to say that you have the same functionality as you did as an individual freelancer. You're just going to get that bigger lump sum to pay everybody in your agency. All right, and this one just shows that, much like an individual account, you can see some statistics for your agency. So you can see, job success score, earnings, how often people are looking at you, all that good stuff. You still have those statistics available as an agency. And it's in the My Stats section of your navigation. And one of the questions that always comes out of this slide is job success score. How do you calculate a job success score for an agency, and how does that work with all of my individual freelancers and their job success score? So an agency job success score is based on all of the agency projects. So just like we were talking about with those proposals, you're applying as an agency project, you're getting paid as one lump sum as an agency. So those projects that get paid out as that one lump agency sum are the ones that are going to relate to your agency job success score. So as an example, let's say that you have a team member, it's a non-exclusive agency team member, something happens with one of their individual projects. Their job success score goes way down for some reason. It was a misunderstanding, whatever the case is. That drop in their job success score is not going to affect your agency job success score, because it's only based on the project you did as an agency, not as an individual. So it's completely separate. And then as an individual, the agency projects are not factoring into their job success score unless you are an exclusive. So if you only work for the agency, then those two job success scores are related because you're only working on the agency stuff. But if you're individual, then it's individual. They stay separate. So just like with individual accounts, there are varying reports you can run, all with different levels of earnings info depending on roles and permissions. So this is kind of like in with the stats and everything else. This is just back-end functionality that you can get as an agency owner. More reports. You can also look at work diaries. The only note to really take advantage of here is that only the freelancer on the contract can edit his or her own work diary. So only the person doing the work can edit the work diary, but the owner and the business manager can take a look at those work diaries. They just can't change anything. So that's where you have to have some internal team communication in order to make any corrections there. All right, so that's a lot of the details and information about actually working as an agency. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit more and talk about kind of tips, tricks, and some questions to ask yourself. So top clients are looking for top-rated agencies. And just like an individual freelancer account, you have those badges that you can earn, like rising talent and then eventually top-rated. So here you can see some of the perks of being top rated, like your badge, some premium customer support, you get exclusive invitations, you have a little bit more control over your job success score, which means you can get one of the lower ratings removed. You can dispute it. That's a top rated perk. But hopefully that never happens, because if you do work, you get good scores and everything's good. In order to get top rated, you need to have a job success score of 90%. So the agency and the agency owner. Again, this does not figure in the people working for you, just the agency and the agency owner. It has to be for 13 out of 16 weeks, 100% complete profile. You have to earn at least $10,000 in a 1-year time frame. No account holds, up-to-date availability, all that good stuff. And then a fun note at the bottom, new members of a top-rated agency automatically get rising talent status on their profile. So that just kind of helps your team look stronger. All right, so some tips of successful agencies. Number one, they invest in their profile. So that includes all of this we were talking about, your overview, your profile. They really spend time, or your portfolio. They really spend time to communicate what the agency does and prove that their skills and their work history. They stay active and engaged, meaning they're submitting proposals, they're responding to messages quickly, responding to any job invites, treating this like a real job. They build a job success score by continually delivering great work, and they leverage Upwork resources. So there are so many resources available to you as an Upworker. There's the blog, the hiring headquarters, the community, and all of this is down in the footer of Upwork. So if any page, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a black footer at the bottom of the page. And in that, you will see community, hiring headquarters, blog. These are all places where you can find tons of information and resources, tips, tricks in the community. You can actually talk to other freelancers, ask questions, share knowledge. A lot of people don't realize that those are available. Some places they're kind of hidden at the bottom of the page there. So take a look for those. Okay, we've almost made it. We're almost to Q&A time. I've seen a lot of questions coming through as we've been talking, but we're going to go through this one last section, which is 6 questions to ask yourself about starting an agency, because an agency is very different from working as an individual freelancer, and there's a couple of things that you should think about before deciding to, take the leap, upgrade your account, and dive into the agency world. So the first question is why? And if your answer of why you want to start an agency is to make more money, you might want to think twice. So an agency is a business, and it's also managing employees. And you really want to think if you want to take on that responsibility. Even if you're just having contractors, as an agency owner, you're responsible for all of your team's work. And you want to understand that your day-to-day duties as an agency owner may change from what you did as an individual freelancer. So if your skills as an individual freelancer was to code web pages, as you start an agency, suddenly your daily duties are going to be writing proposals and reviewing contracts and talking to clients. And there's going to be so much of your time that's taken up with other things besides the work that you used to do. So you really want to think about that. Do you want to do the business and management side of things, or do you want to do the work? If you want to do the business, management, sales, all that part, then yes, you may want to think about starting an agency. Next is, what is your vision? So agencies require clear vision just because there are so many decisions that you need to make. So the question you want to ask yourself is, what is the value that my agency is bringing? What is the value of this whole team of people as opposed to what I can provide just on my own? If you're really clear about that, it's going to make things like setting up your profile much simpler. Figuring out those 10 services you want to focus on is going to be much simpler if you really have a clear understanding of the vision of your agency. Next, you want to think about your niche. And this is important as an individual and as an agency. The key to success on Upwork is being very focused and understanding the niche of the services you provide. So that means the actual services you provide, and then also the audience that is looking for those services. You can't be everything to everyone. It's a common trap to think the more I offer, the more work I'll get. Not in a marketplace like Upwork, because people are searching for specific skills and specific expertise. And if you're not being specific, it's going to be hard for you to match up with those specific projects. So think about your niche and where your agency is going to fall in skills and in audience. All right, the next is, what is my USP? So that stands for unique selling proposition. So this is really tied to your value. Again, what are you offering as an agency that's not only specific, but different from what everyone else is offering? So remember here that people are paying for process and organization. So your unique selling proposition may not be that your skills are super unique. It may be that the way you approach a project is unique, or your focus on a specific segment of a market is unique. You want to figure out how someone would decide to pick you over another agency or another freelancer. What makes you stand out? And you need to figure out how to communicate that and how to portray that. Next is, do you need a co-founder? And this one is completely up to you. A co-founder can be complementary or a headache. They can be really helpful, or they can cause more problems. So what you want to think about with a co-founder is to make sure you align around a common vision. You want to make sure that you're documenting from the onset. So you want to get written down some rules of engagement, what happens if you break up as a co-founder, and you want to review it every couple of months to make sure that it's current as the business changes. So this is a very personal decision, but it's something to think about. And lastly, you want to think about your team. So as this agency owner, as your own business owner, you are in charge of finding these people that are ultimately going to do the work that you're going to be responsible for. So you're the boss, and these are the people that work under you. So you want to like working with them. You want to feel that they're reliable. You want to feel confident that you will be happy with the work that they provide and be proud of the work that they provide. You would want to set expectations and build culture from day one, because common values equals good work. So you're actually building a team here, and there's some specific skills that it takes to build a team. If you Google building a team, there's tons of information out there about how to be a good manager and how to make a good team work. And then the other part of a team is you got to think about what skills you need. And even within a skill set, you want to think about junior versus senior levels of experience and how these people will all work together. So those are the questions. And this is kind of the summary here. Creating an agency is not for everyone. It's a lot of work. It can have big rewards, but that comes usually with big effort, and that is definitely the case here. So a few more questions to think about. Are you getting a lot of job invites that you can't handle by yourself? That may be a signal that you need a team behind you to be able to execute. Are you great at coordinating people? If that's one of your primary skills, then you would be a great agency leader. Are you able to communicate well? And that's both with clients and also with your team. Because as that agency role, you're going to be communicating to your clients and then also to your team. And so it's a lot of management. Are you able to translate client job requirements into outstanding work? So again, remembering that these are large, complex projects. So are you able to break those down into smaller projects that you can then disseminate to your team and build into timelines and all of that management piece? Do you feel like you have the right team to execute large, complex, or long-term projects? And can you handle the responsibility of other freelancers? If you don't want to be responsible for other people's work, don't start an agency. So, ta-da! We have made it to the question and answer period, and it looks like we have about 15 minutes to go through some questions here. Like I said, I've seen a lot of questions coming in during the webinar, so I'm going to start scrolling and see what we have. And I'll try and find ones that we haven't already answered in this webinar. So like I said, this is being recorded and it will be distributed to you after the webinar hangs up. So if you feel that you missed something in the middle, something like that, you will have a recording to refer back to. And again, there are a ton of help and support resources that contain